actually, I thought it would add a little spice to things if I didn't really think through. I wanted to hear what other people were saying, and then sort of think through what I would say at the last minute, you know, like in response to everything, and sum it up. Because I thought that would add a little spice to things. You know? And when you live in Topeka, Kansas, you know, we Topekans need all the spice we can get. So this was my spice. So I came up with a few things I want to say, and some of it, I'm not going to give some academic lecture. I feel like in this group, I feel like I'm just among friends, and so I want to just say a few sort of. I want to say a few personal things about what the past 5 years has sort of meant for me, and then what it's meant for all of us, and then where we're going. And then we can go out and feel happy. It won't be one of my doom and gloom talks. This will be sunshine and lollipops, baby. Alright, so basically, we're facing right here the end of an era, really, with Ron Paul retiring, and now we've got to decide what happens next. And as I say, I was thinking about what this movement has meant for me personally. I mean, not like the world revolves around me, but it is a kind of a melancholy moment for me looking back on this, because I don't know if I should even say this, probably sounds too cheesy, but when I was growing up, I was basically an insecure little kid.
No!
And I know, kind of can't believe this. But like, you know, like when I was in junior high, like I just didn't like any of these kids. I had nothing in common with these kids at all. I couldn't relate to them on no level whatsoever. And I was very much, you know, kind of on my own. And then, although, you know, I will tell you one funny little story about junior high, and then we'll get to the serious things. I was sort of a computer hacker when I was like in like, you know, 7th, 8th grade, around then. And I was doing stuff that you were really not allowed to do. And the thing that I got a kick out of was these kids who wouldn't give me the time of day thought they were really, you know, sticking it to the man by like smoking behind the school. And I thought, smoking? I got like the FBI coming to my house. But when I got to high school, a lot of people realized, all right, look, you know, the kid is the captain of the math team, so that is a huge demerit. But on the other hand, he's so funny. You know, so all right, so that kind of worked. I kind of liked high school, but still, I would say this kind of insecurity. All right, so then my first big selling book came out, 2004, The Politically Incorrect Guide to American History. Now, today we might look back on what happened to me as a result of that and say, yeah, awesome. But at the time, I didn't feel that way. It did really well. I was really happy about that. But about a month after it came out, I got attacked by name on the editorial page, an assigned editorial, not in the book review section, on the editorial page of the New York Times. Yay! Within another week, I was attacked in the Boston Globe. Then I was attacked. So you think, okay, so the left liberals don't like me. Then the official regime libertarians attacked me in Reason magazine. Now you may think, though, that today I look back on that and I think that's awesome, right? I was speaking to them, and no matter how much they attacked me, the book kept on selling. But I'll tell you, though, at the time, this was terrifying to me because I was very much, nobody knew who I was in 2004.
We did.
And thank you. But I'm getting these attacks, and I've got nobody out there who's going to defend me against the biggest voices in the world coming after me. And I was wondering, is my career over before it even started? This was an awful time. I mean, you might think I'd be excited about it. This was terrible for me. But now, today, thanks to the whole Ron Paul thing, and everybody coming out and kind of all this message resonating, now, oddly enough, I'm standing in this room, surrounded by people whose opinions I value about 1,000 times more than I value that of the New York Times, and you guys cheer me. So I want to thank you. I mean, that meant something. This means something to me. And I had the support, of course, of some of the non-respectable, non-mainstream, non-Washington, D.C. based institutions like LouRockwell.com, the Music Institute. I'm very happy to have had the support of Ron Paul himself, which has been very encouraging for me. But, and here's why I bring this up. Official institutional libertarianism pretends I don't even exist. As far as the Cato Institute is concerned, there is no one named Tom Hanks. That's okay. And normally I don't bring these people up. I don't talk about this. I don't foster division. I actually try to bring people together. So even though Reason magazine went after me all those years ago, at a time when the mainstream was hitting me like crazy, they thought now was the time to kick a libertarian in the teeth. I've rolled with those punches. You know, when I fill in on Peter Schiff, I've had some of their columnists on to extend an olive branch to me. Now, it hasn't been reciprocated, but I'm going to be the better man. I'm going to do that.
You are strong.
But what's interesting to me also is, for some reason, when I've gone to Las Vegas and I've seen some of these people at Freedom Fest or in other situations, like there's the president of a major, huge, big funded libertarian organization. He can't even look me in the eye. I go to get in the elevator and he pretends he's going to look on his cell phone and go someplace else. I was introduced to him. He can't look at me while he's shaking my hand. Whereas I shook his hand firmly, looked right at him. Nice to meet you. What do I have to be afraid? What's wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? But the reason I bring this up is that, okay, these people don't support me. They're actively hostile to me. And it hasn't mattered to my career one tiny bit. So there's a lesson here for all of us, because all of us are outside the official precincts of respectable libertarians, and we are flourishing and growing. They cannot believe we exist. These people have poured millions and millions and millions of dollars into trying to build a popular movement like this, and they have been a big flopperoo, to quote Murray Rothbard. So they resent us. We shouldn't even be here. And yet here we are with 10 times the energy and the enthusiasm and the knowledge. So, do what you want to do, basically, is my message. Because that's what I've done. And it hasn't mattered to me that this one attacked me or that one ignored me. It doesn't matter. If you're doing the right thing, you'll be okay in the long run. I didn't realize that in 2004. But it turned out okay. And recently, some of you people know, and again, I'm not going to dwell on this, I don't dwell on things like this, but some of you know I was more or less shut out in this most recent campaign cycle by Jesse Benton. But the lesson was, do what you want to do. So I thought, you're not going to let me help Ron Paul, I'm going to help him anyway. So I made videos that were watched by hundreds of thousands of people defending Ron Paul against critics. I think that was I just did what I wanted to do. I didn't have to get the permission to do it. I wasn't going to get the permission. Screw permission. I just did it. Didn't matter. So with Ron Paul, basically what we did was we were going for the whole thing. We were going for the whole bowl of cherries with that bit. We were going against the whole Federal Reserve, military industrial complex, we were going for everything. But now Ron Paul's retiring, and now the strategy changes. Because now what we are doing instead of going for the whole thing all at once, we are chipping away at it. Every one of us chipping away in his own way, little by little, unplugged from these DC organizations that send us these appeals to keep sending them money, keep sending them money. What do they ever accomplish with it? What do they? Zero. Keep your money and put it to some good purpose advancing the cause in your own area. So, for example, I happen to think that one of the best things we have going right now is the Free State Project. I mean, because you want to talk about a plausible scenario? That's a plausible scenario. Now, it's got a lot of obstacles, but it might actually happen. So I urge people to support that. And if you don't know what it is, freestateproject.org. Or one time, I'm hosting a Peter Schiff show, and a guy is a guest who decided that what he wanted to do was he's sick and tired of, he doesn't like government, he's a private property guy, and he said, you know what, I don't even need government's supposedly essential services like their judges that are so fair and impartial. He said, I'm going to start my own dispute resolution service. It's going to be non-governmental, and it's called Judge.me. And he just went and did it. He didn't get any grant from a Washington, D.C. think tank, which of course wouldn't have wanted to touch him with a 10-foot pole. That's not a respectable thing. Why do we have the government for this? No, he didn't care. He just went ahead and did it. Or there's a guy I met tonight, who's got a group going, that what they're doing is they're taking what we say about voluntary society. We can help people. We don't need the gun in the ribs to do that. And he's got a group, Spirits of 76, spiritsof76.org, where they're going to take people who believe in our message and go out in their communities and do good charitable work while spreading the message at the same time. Great! There's another way to chip away. Chip away. Or my friend, how many of you guys, come on now, you guys know Bob Murphy, right? Yeah. Now Bob Murphy's here. Now look at what one guy is able to do. Bob Murphy has this challenge out. He's going after the cream of the crop that the establishment has for economists. Paul Krugman. Now I know you're booing and you're not saying Krugman. But so now Bob is challenging him to a debate thanks to the internet. The guy can't ignore this because what Bob is saying is, okay, maybe you don't want to debate me, but I'm going to raise a lot of pledges. Right now he's got $80,000 in pledges. And the purpose of this is, if Krugman debates him, that $80,000 goes to a food bank for the poor. But if Krugman doesn't debate, then the money stays frozen. Now what's Krugman going to do? And what did that cost Bob Murphy? It cost him the $7 that he spent to register the domain KrugmanDebate.com. And now he's got the cream of the crop, terrified and on the run, because Krugman knows perfectly well that if he goes up against Bob Murphy, he's going to have his head handed to him. So Bob is chipping away. Because of the internet, David and Goliath is in effect. He's chipping away. Or we've got now, because the mainstream media is so pathetic. I mean, during the Iraq War, the aftermath of the Iraq War, there was an organization that was offering to pay a $1,000 reward to journalists who would ask a critical question about the Iraq War, given all the lies and the propaganda. Like, they have to offer a reward to get them to do what they're supposed to be doing already. But now, because of the internet and all these people who are sick and tired of the lies in the mainstream media, we've got all these independent journalists going out asking the questions nobody else dares to ask. They're not getting permission, they're just doing it. It's incredible that all this is happening simultaneously. And then you've got people working for jury nullification, for state nullification, for the 10th Amendment Center. And then just learning this stuff, becoming smart, becoming good debaters, and spreading this message. Now, they tell us though that you gotta calm down here, you guys. You gotta be careful how you talk about the message. You gotta temper the message so that your audience hears it the right way. Now, there is something to be said for this. You've gotta reach people where they are. Not everybody is ready to hear the 100% message. I wasn't. I heard it a little bit at a time. So you have to know where your listener is. But that does not mean that you ever have to sell out the message in order to promote it. Never. There's never any reason to do that. So as with Ron Paul, the way to defend Ron Paul and to spread his message to the mainstream Republican Party was not to pretend foreign policy doesn't exist. It was to explain that foreign policy. But unfortunately, the official strategy was, let's pretend it doesn't exist, and then it'll go away. They pretended it didn't exist, and the voters said, we love Ron Paul except for foreign policy. That is not the way forward. Now, I'm happy to say, in my own case, there was a case recently where I was on the Dennis Prager show. I mean, you guys know this case, a neocon with a huge audience. And Dennis Prager had me on, we were talking about the economy, and everything was happy, and sunshine and lollipops, and then it turned to foreign policy. And I thought, well, look, there's no way to sugarcoat this. The guy is asking me point blank, and I could keep on being his friend by tiptoeing around this, but there are things I value more than being Dennis Prager's friend. And so I said, look, no, I think this foreign policy is completely immoral, and it's impossible for anybody, in particular conservatives, to support it. And he never invited me again, but I did what I had to do there. And that means that I'm not as influential as I would otherwise be, but it also means I can sleep at night, and I can look my kids in the eye and feel like someday they'll be proud of their daddy. That's it, everybody. We gotta chip away. You gotta find out. You gotta start chipping away. Where is your area to start chipping away? Now, one person alone chipping away is got a long row to hoe, so to speak. But if lot of us are chipping away at once. I don't know what's going to happen, but I guess we're about to find out.